Nick, start talking.
I am talking right now to hear myself talk, and oh, my pop-up ad blocker is not letting me look at this website because that's stupid. So I've got to pause it. How do I pause it? Don't run on this page. Okay, so let's reload. Aha, there we go. Lucasfilm wants Takia Waititi to direct a Star Wars movie. It's probably because he'll make lots of jokes. Let's see. I'm just talking. Ooh, Moff Gideon. No idea who that is. Will have an expanded role in The Mandalorian season 2. Ooh. Baby Yoda quits Mandalorian over pay rate disputes. Well, that's weird. And now it's time for us to digest the lowest rung of pop culture so you don't have to. You're tuned in to the all-new CultureCast. I'm Nick.
I'm Cousin Charles.
And we're back with the all-new CultureCast, back for 2020. It's been a couple weeks, but we're back,
Woo!
and we're also back for part 3 of our. It was really part 2, but it's our third crisis episode where we're gonna put a ribbon on this and take care of the biggest crossover of all time.
On a television budget.
On a television budget, yeah. So, yeah, it's we are starting a new year. We have a new intro, as people who listen to our show heard it. You didn't hear it, because we don't do this live, but it's there. Cuz is working on some new headphone stuff that he got. That's kind of a work in progress, so to speak, I guess. But
Yep, I got a legit podcasting gear, so now I'm ready to get ready, Joe Rogan. I'm going to take you on.
So this is our final episode that we're doing with the all new culture. Yeah, and me, this is the first episode I'm recording in my new office. We've been doing some work on our upstairs of our house, and we added like an office area and a play area, and that's finally been pretty much completed. And so I'm all set, ready to go in the new cave, the new podcasting.
Ah,
I don't know what we're going to call this room, but it is. It's a room. It's a room that the computer is
your
in. So it's the
your
podcast, the computer
your
room.
your own personal fortress of solitude.
My fortress of Slicertude or Nicktude.
Ah,
I don't know. Well, I'll call it something. Be the escape room when I need to escape from family life. But
we're
they'll
not.
just follow me.
You have 1 hour before the kids break their way in.
Yeah.
Reverse.
The kids will want to be in here probably more than I would, because I plan on putting stuff up on shelves and everything. They'll be like, I want to play with that. Dad's not here, so I'm going to play with it now. Like, oh. But oh well. Anyway, let's move on. We got a lot to talk about. It is we're reviewing Crisis on Infinite Earths, the CW adaptation, parts 4 and 5, which essentially is the second half of the Crisis, or as I like to call it, Avengers Endgame. As this first episode kind of the first of the two episodes reminded me of it in a little bit. But anyway, Cuz, what were your initial thoughts of the Crisis, the Arrow Hour and the Legends Hour?
So the Arrow Hour I thought was, I don't know, it was, and I'll get into a lot of this later, but I thought the Arrow Hour was pretty good, like in terms of okay, how, in terms of how everything looked with the type of story that they were telling. But then when you have the Arrow Hour alongside the Legends Hour, so to speak, it's very kind of disjointed, because it's like you're like, okay, we're gonna wrap up Crisis over the course of the next 2 hours. After the Arrow Hour is over, it's like, okay, so Crisis is pretty much wrapped up, but now we have one more hour left of something. Because it did feel like, okay, the story proper ended with the Arrow Hour, and then they just kind of put together a little bit of a kind of an epilogue. They're like, well, we got a fifth show to include somehow, so let's come up with something.
I will say this: it does match what happened in the Crisis comic.
Okay.
All the heroes think they defeated the Anti-Monitor, all the Earths were merged, and all the heroes woke up like, wait a second, this is not the same Earth we're on. Like, some characters were ported over, others weren't, and everyone's like, what is going on? And then it's like, oh, look, the monitor's still alive. We gotta destroy him one last time. So it did kind of like follow suit with that. So I won't fault the show for doing that, but I totally see what you're saying though.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where it's I think because you were kind of mentioning that the original source material is kind of a little bit of is a little bit messy.
Incomprehensible.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been
So I think that
rereading
might be.
it. Yeah,
So I think that
it's yeah. Sorry.
I was gonna say that might be one of those elements that doesn't necessarily that could have been. I think it have been worked in a little bit better, considering that it really is kind of jarring. I will say. I mean, ultimately, I would say I liked it for the most part, but it is kind of. I think the problem with the Crisis is, as you and I have been watching them over the past several years, I think they may be getting a little bit too big, a little bit too many moving parts. It feels like sometimes, and there were some parts of the second half that kind of showed like what happens when you have too many parts that you're trying to balance at the same time.
hmm I I feel that they shit the bed with the second part, with the second half of this crossover. Honestly, um,
Well, where do you want it? Where do you wish to begin? Because I do have a lot of thoughts. Because immediately this episode picked up, I think started with my biggest gripe from the ending of the first half, which was I don't think it's not the first thing that in this episode, but it's one of the first things. The fact that we're just glazing over the fact of introducing the Spectre, like
yeah, that. Trust me, that's on my list of things to chat about. That's a good. Let's just start there.
yeah,
So Oliver now is the Spectre.
yep,
Um, that's one of my biggest questions. Why did Oliver need to be trained as a Spectre? Why couldn't the original Spectre be the Spectre to attack the Anti-Monitor? Like I didn't understand that, especially since there was no build up to the Spectre.
no,
It was just kind of like, I'm the Spectre. Here's
yeah.
my powers.
I've been standing behind this tree for God knows how long, ready for this exact moment. Yeah, like, well, what's weird is like, okay, is like compared to the other crossovers where it's like, the build up to those crossovers for the most part, like a lot of the crossovers have been pretty self-contained to just those episodes.
hmm
Like maybe the episode before you might get some hint of what's going to happen, but for the most part, a lot of them have been, self-contained to whatever the select number of episodes per shows are going to be. But with this one, we had, they had both the Flash show and pretty much all of Arrow's last season dedicated to the build up to Crisis. And
Yes.
yet, even with all that, even with like, okay, we got two shows to kind of explain what's going on, kind of get some hints of what to expect. Even with all that, kind of viewing the whole entity of this, the whole enchilada, start to finish, it's like everything feels rushed, and we're trying to cram so many things in. And I don't know if that's an issue with the going back to the original source material,
Not in this
but
instance.
in this instance, it's very much like
Like
you know,
I'm honestly surprised they didn't have an episode of Flash or Arrow, or assuming they had this plan this far out, Legends last year, where they introduced this character.
yeah,
Just to be like, hey, I'm the Spectre, I do things, and I don't know, whatever. Like just to introduce and have him set up so when he pops up, like, hey, I've been hanging out in these bushes. Oliver Queen, come with me. I have candy. It's like,
yeah. I mean,
uh, yeah.
and I agree with you very easily. I mean, Legends has now John Constantine, which you could go that way of like, okay,
And they had a
you
lot of
know,
magic and everything.
magic. But
Yeah.
then he was also I think a cop, so you could go with that angle because Oliver's world's more semi-grounded. So it's like there's ways you can do this, but instead it's just nope. It was like It was like, okay, we got Crisis written up, and then somebody went, "Hey, did you write in the Spectre?" Oh crap! And they quickly had to put him in. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happened. But so yeah, Oliver gets vague Spectre powers because Spectre was just standing behind a tree.
Yeah, I mean, even they don't explain like why Oliver had to be trained, or like why Oliver, you've been chosen, like something.
Yeah.
I don't know, like maybe like say like, listen, Oliver, I'm too weak as a Spectre because I've been at it too long, but I can't take him on. But you know this battle. I will give this power to you, or something. I don't know, just
Well, I was gonna say even with that, like even with that all that being said, like Oliver's final battle with going to the end of part four, Oliver's final battle with the Anti-Monitor is just more or less a big staring contest, which is weird because it's like
yes.
the episode begins with like kind of showing a highlight reel of Oliver's fights of him just being very physical and punching and
Hmm.
doing mild gymnastics a la Power Rangers, but yeah, the final fight, the fight to save the
They,
universe, big old
they
staring
shoot
contest.
they shoot like lasers out of their hands, and then the all the other characters are like, just think really hard and we'll stop the anti-monitor. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I probably should rewatch it because I was not, I knew there was a battle going on, I knew the battle was to save the universe, but don't ask me how they were going to do all that because I'm sort of left vague on the specifics.
Well, don't forget again because I think the goal with any CW show is we're just going to throw so much at you that we hope you forget stuff that's happened before. So presumably, the first two. So Oliver dies at the end of part one of this, right?
Hmm.
Death scene, gone. Then parts two and three have a mild focus of like we gotta get Oliver back. They do resurrect his body. They go to purgatory, try to get his soul, and presumably, Oliver's soul is then taken by Jim Corrigan Spectre for so that way we can turn him into the Spectre. But Oliver's body, we presume, is just lost. Uh, is lost to the to the cosmic winds once the anti-monitor hits. But it's like so why did we spend all that energy resurrecting Oliver for him to just go away, and then it's like, oh, he's there. So that whole side quest of them finding a Lazarus pit, putting Oliver in, making a deal with Lucifer, all that was kind of for naught, I guess,
It was
because there was
because so the characters would know what happened to Oliver.
yeah,
That was basically so because they had to put Oliver's body in purgatory so the Spectre can get to it, and they also needed to pad this out for 5 hours. So
I
there's
guess,
that too.
I guess, yeah, because I was gonna say, wasn't he already? Couldn't you say he was already in purgatory? I mean, that's
But his mind wasn't all there. He was just kind of like irrationally thinking, and then Diggle and them were able to like snap his mind back to being Oliver. I'm not saying this is a good reason or this makes sense. I'm just telling you like how the train of logic I think was following.
okay. Because I was gonna say all the time that we spent, it's kind of like I kind of just made up this term with Megan while watching the Mandalorian, but it's like you got conservative storytelling. It's like, look, we got 22 minutes. You can't whatever you're showing us has to be the most important thing. You can't waste around with like, oh, here's some establishing shots or here's a side quest that goes nowhere. No, you got to get right to the point. We only got 22 minutes and then this is over. And that's kind of how there was like, again, for all the stuff that they have to include, the side quest of putting Oliver through this process just really made it just felt very kind of convoluted, and I don't know. I feel like it could have been done better. I think he should have just stayed dead, and maybe and then we just cut to Oliver in purgatory, and that's how we meet Jim Corrigan. We don't have John Constantine or Diggle or his future daughter. I'm just saying it should have been done better.
It was sloppily handled, yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, the battle at the end was mildly disappointing because the characters, like the Paragons, they were like they made a big deal about the Paragons,
Yeah.
and which is fine. But
What?
what do? They just thought we think really hard, we'll save the day. I mean, they just
Well,
kind
they
of stood
Oh,
there.
I was gonna say let's go back to that final battle, and let's also talk about the Anti-Monitor and his useless minions. Um, so
Yeah.
end of the world, the entirety of reality is at stake, and we have a essentially more or less a extra dimensional god who's going to rewrite everything in his image, right? Who do we have? Who is on the dream team? Okay, we got Flash. Okay, super speed, good stuff. We got Supergirl. Okay, strong. All the Superman stuff, good. Martian Manhunter, also kind of that same sort of weight class. And then we have the other. Then we have the other half of the which one Lex Luthor being a grade A asshole.
Well, to be fair, Luther wasn't supposed to be there. He put his name in Sharpie on the Book of Destiny,
Yeah.
and that means you get in.
I'll be honest. There's a lot of problems with this crossover special. That was not one of them. I personally believe that I have not watched Supergirl that much, but I've seen some of the bits with John Cryer as Lex Luthor, and I'm like, he is a delight.
He's great.
He's enjoying every moment that he is on screen.
He's come a long way since Lenny Luthor.
Yeah.
But no, he's great and he's wonderful. But
But going back to the Dream Team, so he gives himself superpowers. It's like, okay, that's a pretty Lex Luthor thing to do. But then let's look at the other three members. We have Batwoman, who knows karate. We have Sarah Lance, who knows karate. We have Ryan Choi, doesn't know karate or doesn't do anything, but somehow is just, I think he's just punching and these things are just, being whisked away. What terrible minions. What absolute, for an army of like darkness, for them to be like, the foot soldiers of this unstoppable thing, you can just take a fan and just blow them away. They're pretty useless.
I don't know what the point of his character was. Like, I feel like there should have been another character, an already established character that could have taken his place. Like, who? I don't know off the top of my head, but like, I don't know. It didn't seem, yeah.
Anybody. You could have had, let's be honest, Nick. Anybody. You could have had anybody that we already know. There's a lot of non-powered people in these shows. Just pick one. Hell, it's just like, why wasn't, talking about kind of like, I think in our Road to Crisis, I think we brought up, maybe they'll finally make Diggle a Green Lantern, kind of play on that thing that they've been teasing for a while. That would have been perfect. He's got no powers, but then, give him a Blue Lantern ring or something, kind of subvert expectations, or I don't know. But no, he's just there. He's there for two things. He's there to grow a beard to show the passage of time.
Yeah.
And he's there because he's the only normal one, I guess.
How did they like survive on the vanishing point? Was there food there? Because they're out of space time, did they not have to worry about that? I mean, are they in their costumes for the next 5 months? Like, did they never remove it? I mean, outside of Ryan Choi with his beard, everyone else looks like it's been like 5 minutes since the end of the last episode.
Yeah, which let's be honest. Go back to the episode. I'm pretty sure they just glued on a fake beard. I don't think that's like a real like, hey, we're gonna need you to grow some stuff. Yeah, that looks like they went to the Halloween store, found like a $5 beard kit, and just slapped it on and said, "You're good." I don't know. I mean, the actor who plays him is not bad. The character itself isn't bad, but just like for him to just be written in and really not do anything, like he doesn't. Like, I'm trying to even think like what his big moment was. I think it was telling the Monitor like, "Hey, don't go there," but it didn't really matter because he was. I think they say correct me if I'm wrong, but the Anti-Monitor says something where it's like, well, you stopped that one version from coming here. There was others, or something like that.
If it wasn't him, it would have been someone else. Yeah,
okay.
Basically implying that the Monitor from another alternate timeline would have still did it.
Well, I was gonna say, to steal a line from a much better crossover movie, I am inevitable. But yeah, so that's one of the big things. Where was I at? So yeah, because I had a big bone to pick with the Ryan Choi thing. I don't even think as I said, I don't think he's a bad character. It's just kind of like you have so many people to pick from, and it's just a random new character with no quirk, nothing that really sets us apart. Besides, he's kind of that comic book level genius, which is like a dime a dozen.
And the genius thing didn't come into play until the part 4 when he helped the Harrison Wells, or the fake
Nash.
Harrison Wells, Nash Wells, yeah, make that thing. Which of all the scientist people, they could have had anyone do that role, but I don't know. I almost feel like it should have been Black Lightning that was instead of Ryan Choi. I feel that would have made more sense, but
Yeah.
maybe they couldn't get Black
Right.
Lightning for all the episodes. But I got thoughts on Black Lightning, which we'll get to later on. But
Yeah.
yeah. So that was yeah, that whole final battle sequence was something else. It just it
Well,
didn't.
the one in I will say because it's kind of like you almost have to say which one because both episodes have a quote unquote final battle sequence.
Oh, I guess
Uh,
from part 4 anyway.
well, yeah, I would say at least four at least kind of felt more, it felt more appropriate for like, okay, we're fighting the antimatter, because that's been my one big gripe with any and all with most of the crises, is anytime there's the big fight where everybody's involved, and I hate to say this only because it's like I get it, CW show, but it always feels it's just like one random block in Vancouver is really
Yeah.
under threat.
Or
Every
in
single
this case, it was like in a quarry somewhere. It's like, oh, so the universe began in a quarry. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a quarry is at least, just, vague enough. It's like, okay, sure. Versus in part five, where it's just like, okay, we're down by the docks. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, that was,
like, like,
yeah. I know they
well,
have to, but
yeah,
maybe they could have had a better for part 5. Now I know we're jumping topics here, but for part 5, I can't help but wonder that if they didn't like go on this needless detour to defeat a giant Bebo, we could have spent more money on a final battle.
yeah. Well, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because going back to what the role that the Paragons served in this, it kind of did remind me of the Legends season. Was that 3? Yeah, season 3 finale, where again, pretty much the same setup. 7 heroes, embodying a different like aspect of something, come together to defeat the ultimate evil. I mean, that's the ending of season 3 of Legends. But at least, because it's Legends and they decide, hey, let's have fun with this. They turn into a giant Bebo, a la Ray from Ghostbusters, where it's just like somebody started thinking about it, and that's what they became. So
Right.
it's like, yeah, they couldn't come up with anything creative, like even just like I don't know, hell, I could just a laser, make a different colored laser come out of each one of their chests, like something.
Yeah,
But instead, it's
yeah,
just
I
like
don't
they
know
just stood
that.
in a line and they stared really, really hard, and that apparently worked.
Yeah, I mean, that was needlessly frustrating, I guess, because it was a lot of setup. I don't think it paid off very well in that regard. And the battle there was just kind of like it was underwhelming. It's like, oh, after all that, it's just think really hard, and it's like
Well,
I don't know.
plus, and like I said, going back to my earlier comments with the Dream Team, again, you have the guys who are superpowered, which makes sense, but then you just have, again, half your team just basically just punching and kicking, what's supposed to be like an unstoppable army of evil. And it kind of makes it feel a little bit more silly. I know that's really weird to
Hmm.
say. We're talking about superhero stuff, and it's like, yeah,
No,
it's inherently silly.
this is serious business. Martin Scorsese's an idiot because he doesn't like superhero movies. I don't like mob movies. I've seen a couple. I only see his.
I was gonna say, did the check clear for Marvel? Uh,
Not yet. Our contract's in negotiation, so we just gotta
okay.
still play it good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Also, yeah. Well, I do. Well, I know we've been kind of shitting on this first half of the second part of this crisis special.
yeah, we should start
Uh,
shitting on the second half.
yeah, we should. But I do kind of want. I mean, I think just because I try to make myself a positive. I try to be a happy person, with hopes and aspirations. Let's talk. I kind of want to bring up some of the good things from this aspect, or from this part at least.
Okay,
Uh,
I got one, but you can go first.
no, no, no.
It might be the same thing.
Okay, well, why don't you go first, and you go first, good sir.
Ezra Miller.
Yes.
And
Uh,
can I just say that I did not watch this episode when it first aired because I was working, and so
mhm.
I was going to watch it the following day. And what's plastered all over the internet the following day? Surprise
Yep.
cameo in Crisis with his picture. I'm like, well, that would have
Yep.
been nice to know, had I not known that was going to be. I saw it knowing it was coming up or knowing it was going to happen somehow. I if had I not known that, I probably would have enjoyed it so much more. But
I will say this, not to make you jealous. I was in the camp that I actually watched this as it happened, which is very rare. I don't sit down to actually watch TV. I just, like many from my generation, I just wait to binge it or do something, or watch clips on YouTube. So I actually was like, you know what? I got CW through my rabbit ears. I'm actually going to sit down and tune in, just like when I was a little kid. And I was genuinely surprised and shocked, which is it's very rare to have that happen. Like outside of just this episode, I think in general, like because of how much kind of attention is put on these sort of shows, like it's very 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 hard to be genuinely surprised.
mhm.
Um, like the only other thing I can think of, and again, I brought it up earlier, but I'll say it again, kind of going back to the Mandalorian. Baby Yoda. Nobody knew about Baby Yoda until Baby Yoda existed. There wasn't like, oh, there was a toy that came out 6 months ago, or there was this leak or that leak. Nope, it was just, hey, watch the show and look, here's a surprise for you. That doesn't really happen anymore.
No,
And
that's true.
and
I,
even the from the first half of Crisis with the Lucifer cameo, even that was somewhat leaked. I mean, they tried doing their best to sort of debunk it and be like, oh yeah, it's not
yeah.
happening.
No, he
But
was just
even
visiting the set. It's like,
yeah,
okay.
it's like no. Um, but even that, I kind of was like, I'm sort of primed, like, okay, well, maybe it could happen, and then, oh, hey, pleasantly surprised. This one just like out of left field. Although I did because of the weird effect that they did with that scene, I thought for some reason they had green screened Ezra Miller in there.
No,
Like they
he
just
was
went.
apparently he was really there.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
what. Yeah, because I saw some of the set. They show a photo of like the two of them just standing next to each other. Like, oh, he was actually there in costume. It wasn't like we see. It wasn't like It wasn't like, okay, Ezra, we're gonna have you stand in your living room and just say a few lines. No, he actually went out to set, and it was like, that's really really cool. Like that's actually like well done and a really good surprise.
so supposedly, this was, I don't want to say mandated, but this was orchestrated by Warner Brothers. Like they had said, hey, we know you're pretty much done filming for all this, but do you
Mhm.
want to add this cameo in here? And of course, they're like, yes. So they went back to film a scene to allow for Ezra Miller to come in as with the cameo.
Right.
Which brings me to so many questions that I have.
Mhm.
Is one, clearly, despite the fact that the Flash movie has been delayed like 9 billion times and will probably never be actually made by now, they're still sticking with Ezra Miller, at least for right now, which is interesting. I haven't seen Justice League or anything like that, so I don't know how it all turns out, uh, but I know there's some controversy with people either didn't like him or weren't liking him or something or other. I don't know, but I don't want to get into that. But I guess Warner Bros. Is staying by their casting choice. But the big question is, apparently, from what I read in Justice League, Flash is never actually called Flash in that movie. Is that true?
I did see them. I actually did watch the movie like many, many months later after once it was like on TV. I'm not gonna lie to you. Just
You don't
because a lot
remember?
of that movie, I do not remember. A lot of that movie just went by. I was like, this is bad. He wasn't. He wasn't. He was pretty good in it. I will say that. Like he wasn't. I mean, they're clearly doing their own thing, which is fine. But it was like he wasn't bad in the role. I didn't hate him. I will say that. But I honestly don't remember if they called him that, which would be kind of weird because, like, he's got the emblem and everything. So it's like, like, I would get it if it was just like red and that was it, kind of like season one of the Flash.
hmm
But it's like, but you have the logo and everything, and you don't have the nickname yet. So, but yeah, I don't remember, so I could
Okay.
not. I can neither confirm nor deny.
Let's say, for argument's sake, that the internet is correct in that, because there's a scene where he's like, "Oh, I'm a Flash too," and he's like, "Flash." It's like, huh?
Right.
Like he got the idea for his name from the CW Flash's character, which makes me wonder when and if they actually make the Flash movie, if we will see that scene again from a different perspective.
I think that would be pretty. I mean, I'll be honest. Yeah, I'd be pretty psyched. It'd be pretty cool if they actually sort of remembered that and integrated it into the big theatrical release. Which kind of brings up another sort of thing I wanted to bring up about that whole sort of Speed Force sequence, we'll call it. Which one? I didn't know what was happening because it was like when it first
Nobody
started.
did.
Well, because it was
Not
like
even the writers.
yeah, you have the Antimatter just sort of flashing up there, like and it's like oh, and then it's like oh yeah, he attacked us. He did. I mean, I guess so, but like in the vaguest terms.
Right.
But the one thing I did want to bring up is I will say the CW shows actually look a lot better when they have sort of that sort of letterbox ratios. I don't know if they were just using like a different camera or what, but like I think during that sequence they're cutting back between like these Speed Force scenes that looked really, really good and like were visually interesting, and then you cut back to regular CW stuff where it's like that full screen and stuff like that, where Supergirl and Lex Luthor futz around in a state park.
No, they put the
like,
purple screen filter on it, so it's completely different.
It's Alien now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the one thing I will say. I was like, man, these shows actually look pretty good when they're just shot a little bit differently. Although some of the logic behind, although I will say, well, I visually enjoyed it. Like visually enjoyed how how those sequences looked. And of course the big cameo. I will say a lot of it didn't make any sense whatsoever. So Spectre Oliver is like, okay, Barry, you gotta go through memories and connections, but none of the memories or connections make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, especially Batwoman's cameo, or not
Yeah,
cameo, because like she was just plopped into a middle of a season 3 episode of Arrow where Adam was a main character on there during that season,
yeah,
and it's just like she never met Oliver Queen before then. Like she doesn't know who. I don't think she knows who Ray is. Oh, she probably met him earlier in the crossover. Come to think about it, but it's just like it's very random for her. Like, why is she in like Arrow Consolidated or
yeah.
Promo Tech or whatever they were calling it back then? I don't remember. But like why isn't during the crossover from last year when they were fighting the Deegan in the Book of Destiny? Like
Yeah,
that would make more sense.
yeah. If like okay, because it's like okay, Barry, because again, this is supposed to be also this whole special is supposed to be the Arrowverse's big pat on the back, kind of like look at all of what we've done. But it's like why that scene? Why with this character? And the same thing happens with, and it would make sense if like Barry was just popping into each of these scenes, but he doesn't. He doesn't pop into that one, nor does he pop into the one where it's like you have Oliver and Supergirl and Martian Manhunter's there. And it's like the scene from the invasion thing where Oliver's like, I don't trust aliens because
Right.
that's what we decided to do with Oliver in that special. It's like, why does Martian Manhunter need to be there? He's not there to convince anybody. These are just memories or something. So it's not them. Yeah.
And what was really confusing, I don't understand why they went back to Thor: The Dark World. Nobody liked that movie. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I'm getting my crossover movies mixed up.
Oh, you.
But yeah, I
Well,
mean those scenes there when they revisited like the past crossovers did. That's why when I joked earlier about this was like Avengers Endgame. That did remind me like oh, remember this crossover scene? Remember this crossover? I mean it was a neat way to sort of bring in the flashbacks, so to speak, but they didn't
yeah.
do anything with it. And you don't like Oliver was in each scene. Was any of them the real Oliver, or were they just all like Vision characters, or like it was so vague and all of
Yeah.
that.
Well, the only going back to what you're saying about like, okay, let's revisit some of our past crossovers. The only one that made mild sense or like was like, okay, we have the scene from last year's crossover where Oliver gets gets that kind of stops Deegan with the MacGuffin arrow.
Yeah.
But it's at least that's a scene. That's like the ending of an action sequence from one of the big crossovers. The rest of these are just random characters talking.
Hmm.
That's it. Like it's not anything. It's really not anything like special. It's like why these moments? Why this? It was very bizarre. It wasn't bizarre, but it was just like I don't think it was very well thought out. Like it just I don't know that it was one of those things where it adds to the list of frustrating things that this part delivered on. So I think the only other thing I wanted to mention really fast was just kind of like the somewhat origins of the monitor and anti-monitor relationship. Oh, Nick, you still there?
Hang on.
Yeah. Okay. Something weird happened. We're good. We're good.
Okay. I think the only last thing I wanted to bring up was the somewhat origin story of the monitor anti-monitor relationship because they kind of teased it a little bit, like I think in part 3 but it's just like okay, like okay, the monitor before he was the monitor is like a scientist, of course. We got that classic trope of like, oh hey, let's talk about how silly our costumes are. And it's just like, okay, so I went to the dawn of time, and I guess that started Crisis, or that created the anti-monitor. It's just kind of, can you offer more
Yeah.
insight if I'm missing it, if I was missing anything?
Yeah, that basically it. They're kind of combining together a couple of different characters from the original Crisis comic book.
Okay.
Because it wasn't necessarily the Monitor who went back in time. It was some other character. And I think Pariah had more of a hand in that as well.
Mhm.
That released the ant like so like when the universe was oh god, this is gonna sound complicated. So basically there was a character who decided I want to look back and see how the universe was created. Everyone else was like, no, don't do that. And he's like, I'm going to do it anyway. So he does it, and that essentially what creates the multiverse.
Okay.
And then they're like, you shouldn't have done that, you jerk. But when they created the multiverse, they also created the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor from the Anti-Monitors from the anti-matter universe or whatever.
Okay.
And they became aware of one another. Like they knew one another. And I guess they were like battling for millennia, like from their two separate universes through comic book logic. Don't ask me to explain it more than that.
Got it.
And then if memory serves, I could be off on this, somehow they they were put into like some sort of coma after battling to each other too much. And Pariah had a hand in inadvertently resurrecting both of them, which then
Okay.
kind of started setting off the crisis. Like somehow the barriers between the universes became broken down a little bit, which is how the antimatter started to become more powerful and started destroying all the other universes. I think. I'm 98% sure that's close to the truth. I'm sure we'll have some person come like, no, that's not what happened. You see, on page 172 in the Crisis book, the Pariah did this, not this, you idiot.
Yeah.
So they're combining a bunch of different things. In the comic, the original comic, the Monitor did not have any sort of family or anything. I don't know if that's been revamped over time, but this original source material says otherwise. But they're combining different elements, which I didn't mind. I didn't mind that because it makes like why the Monitor feels so personal. Like this is so personal for him. But it does make me wonder if the crisis essentially started back at the creation of all of time. Why did it take so long for the Anti-Monitor to get his butt in gear to destroy the universes?
Right. Or as you're kind of mentioning all that, I was thinking of like, okay, so they kind of said, okay, Nashwell's, trying to, go through that door, unleash the anti-monitor, but it's like if the anti-monitor was already kind of, already was kind of putting a lot of these plans in motion, it's kind of like, what was his actual role that he played in this? Because it's like if the anti-monitor was already kind of there or already kind of existed, I think it's one of those things where you kind of have to go, don't think about it too hard.
It's definitely vague. I mean, there was something. If you remember, Nashwell's somehow opened up a that thing in Central City
Yeah.
where he was looking for the Monitor, but I think it was revealed it was the Anti-Monitor that he actually released. Like it
Yeah.
almost like again they don't go into it, but like was the Anti-Monitor like imprisoned somewhere, and then him opening up him opening up the monitor or the anti-monitor from his prison, who happened to be under central city for some reason, allowed him. That's what started the actual crisis because all right, I'm free. I can start doing all my bad stuff now. Like
Yeah.
it's vague. They don't go into it. Like a little more exposition would have been helpful.
Yeah, you could have. I mean, you literally could have had some like a voiceover from the monitor saying, and that was when our battle began. We fought for millennia, but I was able to imprison him, on this earth until, or something, uh, but legend foretold that he would get out one day. Just something connecting, like, okay, how do we get from point A to point B? But I
Like
just thought
the
it was just kind of
crisis,
like,
like the crisis is inevitable. If it wasn't going to happen now, it would happen later. That's why I've
right,
been preparing you.
right.
Because
So
this
it
a-hole Nash is going to let him out.
yeah, some guy is just going to happen to let him out, in a random sewer in Central City, um, which conveniently the monitor either that no behind that door, because from the one part wasn't it just like the monitor's lair or the anti-monitor's lair? It's like that's where he had the cannon that was shooting out. I don't know.
Was
Maybe I'm
it?
just I
It might have been. I don't know.
again going back to what I said earlier. The CW just throws a bunch of stuff at you and expects you not to remember what had happened in the scene previously.
Speaking about things that people don't remember, um, when the universe was reset,
Mm-hmm.
no one remembers that Layla was Harbinger who killed the monitor. That just goes completely unmentioned.
Oh
Or
yeah,
that she was working with the monitor. I mean, she may not remember it, but like Diggle, didn't they restored Diggle's memories.
I believe so. Yeah, conveniently, the Martian Manhunter restored everybody's like pre-crisis memories. Um, is what I think is what they said for the most part. So any character that was involved in Crisis, like, oh yeah, they remember what the world was like before. Same thing goes for like for Nash Wells and Pariah. Just oh yeah, they're back to the way they were before, which isn't so bad. But again, it is just kind of like one of those. I will agree, it's kind of glossed over. The one thing I do want to bring up, and you can cut to audio the audio recording from the Road to Crisis. I said yes, they're definitely going to merge
You were
universes.
right.
You were like, no, you can't do that.
No,
You see,
no.
what's happening in Black Lightning is too complicated for the Arrowverse shows.
And I still stand by that second comic. We're going to get into this.
Yeah.
We can have a whole episode on consequences. But you were right. I'm very surprised they went that route. Like when they woke up and were like, oh, we're all on the same merged Earth. That's great. I thought for sure they're going to be like, all right, they'll have a big battle, and then it'll be revealed that the merged Earth is unstable and they have to
Uh,
separate, and then they will be saved. But they didn't do that, and all the shows are on except for the upcoming Stargirl,
yeah.
which why'd you go through the whole effort of doing that but that's a whole nother thing. But they're
Yeah.
all in the same world now, and I gotta say this is part of the thing that I did not like. I get why they did it, but I didn't like that they did it.
Nick, why do you have to make Marv Wolfman sad? He was so happy to see Supergirl and Flash standing side by side. Why do
That
you
was
gotta make
pretty
him
cool.
sad?
I did like
Uh,
that cameo. That was fun. Um,
yeah.
but like here's the thing, and I'm sure this is going to be explored in some of the shows. Like in Supergirl already, they've started exploring the consequences of the combined crisis fallout. But uh, like I would like to know what actually happened previously before the crisis, in terms of these Earths, because the storylines, particularly that of Supergirl, Black Lightning, and then the mainstream Arrow shows like Arrow, Flash, and Batwoman, and Legends, like I don't see how they can interact with one another. Like last year on Supergirl, the whole storyline was that people hated aliens,
Right.
and the president was evil because he was being
Right.
controlled by Lex Luthor. And now Lex Luthor's a good guy. And like, wait. So did last season not happen in this new continuity, or was it happen differently? And then Black Lightning is the biggest sinner, and I don't know how this is going to work forward. But in this season of Black Lightning, the town that Black Lightning lives in is under quarantine
Hmm.
because a shady government agency is trying to do experiments on the metahumans that are in Freeland, presumably to make metahuman warriors for the government.
Right.
Um, outside of Freeland, so basically the town they live in, Freeland, is occupied. The people there hate it. It's a military state. But the official word is, oh, there's a deadly disease in there, so we're trying to quarantine the town.
Okay.
Um, so my thing is, if the government, this government agency, really wants to have metahumans for warriors or for soldiers, in Black Lightning, the only place where they're metahumans was where Black Lightning lives. In this
Right.
new world, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
So why are you focusing all on the Black Lightning group? In addition to that, they make it. This is one thing I had with the second part of the episode was well, actually two things.
Okay.
One, Black Lightning just randomly shows up at Star Labs like, oh, here, I'm here to help you guys. It's
Yep.
like, wait, so did Martian Manhunter change his memories and he just strolled on in wherever? I don't know where Central City is supposed to be located traditionally, and according to DC Comics, it's located in Kansas. Black Lightning, I
Okay, that
think,
makes
takes
sense.
place in Georgia. So it's not like you can just like, well, I'm just gonna hop in my car and take a trip out to Kansas. No, it doesn't work like that. Um, but the more important thing is like Freeland is in a lockdown. You can't leave or go without being shot or shot down. So how did Black Lightning just waltz out of Freeland, no problems? And now he's part of the Justice League, so why can't he be like, "Hey, Flash, I'm having this issue with these government people. Can you help me out? I know you have contacts with Argus. Maybe they can look into this." It's kind of like it.
Or or
Uh,
hey, 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 you two superpowered aliens. Can you come, stop this occupation in like 30 seconds? That'd be
yeah,
great.
yeah, especially since Supergirl also works for a government agency.
Yeah. Well, conveniently, half the superheroes work for government agencies
Yeah,
in some capacity or another.
yeah, or they're like buddies with people who work like the high-ranking buddies. Like I mean, again, I haven't seen the new Black Lightning episode. Maybe they'll establish what's different, why it can't work out like that, but it's maddening that they're doing that. It that frustrates me.
I'm
Um,
I'm going to assume, for the most part, with the new status quo, I think they're going to just kind of pick and choose what's continuity or what happened before that's exactly the same as it was before. What was different?
mhm,
I think just for the sake of, like, to try to keep everything more or less the same. I mean, I guess, or the other route they just go is, we're going to take the same premise that we had before, but we're restarting the season. Is the other option, which, if that's the way you're going, which is fine. If they are going, like, hey, we're just going to take the same premise that we had before, but then we're just going to we're just going to basically, we're going to go a completely new, different direction. Which, if that's the case, it goes back to, like, my thing where I said, why wasn't this? I get it, the crossover usually, like, right in the middle of, like, all these shows' respective seasons. I
mhm,
get that, but why wasn't this, like, the season finale for some of these shows? You know what I mean? Or,
mhm,
like, the second to last episode. Like, that would make, like, if they are going to go that radical with it, or if they are going to be kind of changing up the status quo so much, or they may, or I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of, is they may kind of. I think they're definitely going to be just cherry picking, like, what happened before, what didn't happen. I think I saw the preview for Supergirl. I think one of the things they may be doing is, because I know a lot of things with the CW, like, in terms of their villain rogues gallery,
mhm.
because they're not, unless it's like a really popular, like, character that they keep reusing for a couple, like Gorilla Grodd always seems to manage to come back and stuff like that. Um, a lot of times after they've kind of used up a villain, the villain will either, like, kill themselves or be killed by another villain or something like that. I think they're going to use this new Earth shakeup to, like, reintroduce villains or introduce new versions of villains that we may have seen previously. Because I think in the preview for Supergirl, again, and I'm not, this is someone who's kind of barely watched Supergirl or watched enough to kind of get a general gist of everything. I think the character Win, who apparently was gone for a while,
Yes.
I think there's going to be a new version of Toymaker that's played by the same actor as Win. So it's a different character, but it's like the
Um,
same.
uh, the character's name is the Toy Man. Don't you know
What?
anything about comics?
I guess not. I'll see myself out now.
Yeah, so
Um,
the Win character in Supergirl was the son of the villain.
okay.
Uh, but it does look like they're bringing him back as it's probably the son of the villain, but like he's taking up his father's mantle. Because when Win was written off, he went to the future.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I'm curious to see how that one will play out. When I was watching the Supergirl episode, they teased at the very end of the episode, as they tend to do, and I'm curious to see how that one will play out. I'm like, oh, well, I'll be happy to see the character again. That'll be fun, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think
And
that's one of the. Oh, go ahead.
no, I got nothing.
I was gonna say I think that maybe some that they might do is they'll kind of cherry pick like okay what's happened before because I think going back I mean I think one of the big things is well one of the other big things that's kind of in sort of the status quo of all these shows is Arrow's ending kinda not really because they're planning a spinoff.
Right.
Uh, so I hope you liked Oliver's future daughter because she's gonna be hanging around for a bit.
You know,
Um,
I liked her better this season, like last season. I was like, but I've grown to like
I
her a little bit more.
I say that I say that in joking. I mean, my true feelings are I think she's okay. I think the actress is good. The character is not terrible. But I think it's definitely one of those things where because again I think in the preview for well because Arrow's last two episodes are going to be one that's going to be like a backdoor pilot for like this Arrow
Hmm.
2.0 we'll call it. And then an actual proper series finale. I think is if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what it's going to be.
Yes, you are
Uh,
correct.
Okay. But yeah, because I think they're kind of because I think well because technically when she's in the future, how is she going to be in the present? They're going to that's where going back to that cherry picking where I think it's like okay certain elements well Oliver's always had an adult daughter or something or oh yeah she got stuck in the past and now has decided to live in the present or something like that. They're going to cherry pick like what's kind of happened before and like any which could be good if there's like something really dumb that fans didn't like, but it could also be like we're getting rid of things that you may have liked and saying this is what's really happened, or so because again, because again, going back to that whole, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Go back to Lex Luthor now being a good guy. Again, it's kind of one of those things because everybody kind of is like universally like, oh yeah, Lex Luthor, yeah, grade A. So yeah, I'm assuming there's gonna be some form of cherry picking or like, oh yeah, that was another character, like disguised as Luthor or so it'll be interesting to see how these shows adapt to basically their whole status quo being changed, mid season,
Right.
which again goes back to my point of just like this should have been Crisis should have been like a season finale, and then next season we start with a whole new status quo. But I'm trying to think of just what and there's like some other things that I got in my mind. But
We
what else do
can
you want to bring up with this fifth part?
Well, I was just kind of thinking of some of the other supposed changes. Like I'm thinking back of like the bigger events that Arrow and Flash and all of them had. Like Legends is off doing its own thing,
Mm-hmm.
so having all the characters exist in the same universe really doesn't change what they've done. So that's one thing. Um, Flash each year, like for the most part, the episodes are self-contained, but like the big events, like the first year was the Reverse Flash, so the other
Right.
characters didn't need to get involved with that. The second year was Zoom, which again you didn't probably need the other characters though. Probably Supergirl and Superman would have been helpful when the bad guys from the alternate Earth 2, which is it the same Earth 2 now, or I don't know, but that Black Siren is from and everything. But season 3 was Savitar, and that was its own thing. Uh,
That was its own special kind of hot mess.
yeah, like all the bad things kind of happened very quickly. Season 4 was the Thinker. Like he could have had called in Supergirl and Superman for some help on that one.
Yeah.
Season 5 was, oh, I can't, the Dagger person
Oh,
who
Cicada.
Cicada, and then Future Cicada, which was young Cicada. I guess you didn't need to call in. So Flash's backstory is probably okay. Again, Supergirl's is messy because there's been like an alien invasion of Earth at the end of each season, pretty much.
Mm.
At least seasons 1, 2, and 3. 4 had a different sort of problem, but then let's see, then there was Arrow, which was, let's see, the first year they blew up Central City, not Central City,
Remove the
Starling.
Glade.
Yeah. Second season, okay, they're more grounded shows, so you probably don't need the other characters first 2
Yeah.
seasons. The third season was
Third
Ross.
season was like the League of Assassins.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, because Batman still was sort of a myth. And that would have been the same. That's Batgirl, a Batwoman, so that doesn't make a difference with Supergirl and all that. Fourth season was the Magic Guy.
Yeah.
Fifth was, what was the
Oh,
fifth?
fifth was Prometheus. The bet.
Prometheus. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty good. So that was sort of yeah. So far, let's see. Sixth season was a mess because you had we thought it was one bad guy, but then it turned out to be the other bad guy.
Yeah.
So I guess all the Arrow series have been, you didn't need that; those won't be affected. It's just Supergirl and Black Lightning for the most part.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, going back, I was just thinking about again, going back to Arrow season 5. Was season 5? No, season 4. Because there was one point in one of those shows where like nuke. Yeah, it was season 4 where like nukes nukes like hit like an American city, or like Felicity was like, okay, I gotta redirect the nukes to somewhere.
Oh yeah, and she blew up this other town.
Yeah, like was it like, correct me if I'm wrong, I was like, it would have been great to have like a a super powerful alien who
Yes.
may also have in comic form have throw nukes into the sun.
Yeah, that was in season 4. Because yeah, the Damien Dark was going to blow up a town, and it's either going to be Starling City or the one next to it.
Whatever city Ragman was from, that's all.
Yeah.
That's all I remember.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. That the Felicity directly was inadvertently involved with
Mass
like,
genocide.
I mean, granted, it
nuclear
was like
holocaust.
she had to choose. It was an impossible choice, but yeah, that goes just unmentioned. Yeah, it would have been helpful. Like, hey, Supergirl, can you help me here? Although wait, season 4, was Supergirl around yet? Well, Superman would have been around. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so they're really gonna have to just. I'm assuming. Yeah, I'm assuming they're probably going to go to some variation of cherry picking where it's like either that didn't happen or it happened in a different way or more realistically they're just not going to bring it up at all. It's
No, they won't.
It's one of those don't think about it too hard.
Yeah, that's definitely what it's going to be.
I mean, I will say there were kind of some hints about this happening in the future, because I do remember there's a couple of random lines there was a line from the Crisis on Earth X where Reverse Flash says he fought Superman, I think he says, which it would make which is like, well, okay, I guess the Reverse Flash could travel to a different Earth, so I guess that kind of makes sense, but it's like, why would he be on Supergirl's Earth?
I just assumed that was going to be a reference to a crossover yet to be written where Superman would be appearing and the Reverse Flash was there.
Yeah.
But now it's all on the same Earth.
Yeah, so there have been some references of this sort of happening at some point in the future, but I think it's just going to give the writers, hopefully it gives them a chance to just like, you know what, clean slate, we can, if there's a character we want to bring back, or if there's a new version of a character, we'd say, oh, this is a version of a character from another Earth, or something, something like that. Which I will say, going back to the status quo before we go back to talk about what happens in that actual episode itself. So correct me if I'm wrong. I just want to make sure I understood what actually happened in the final moments, because from what I know from like the general pop culture cloud that sort of exists around us, my general understanding of the Crisis comics was, okay, we're getting rid of the multiverse. It's all going to be one Earth. which kind of happens in the show. But then in the final moments,
Hmm.
then they go, "Oh yeah, the multiverse is still out there, I guess," because then they use stock footage from the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern.
Yeah, that
Um,
was another big surprise. Like
yeah, it was
when I
it was
saw him,
like
like, wait a second, is that? No. Well, hot damn, it actually is. Of all the things to reference.
yeah, which I was gonna say that man has spent an entire superhero franchise shitting on just one movie. And then I think they also then say the DC superhero or the DC universe, Doom Patrol and Titans. They're on their own Earth. So it's
Well,
like
I thought Titans and Doom Patrol were in the same continuity. I haven't seen them, so I don't know.
from what I've read online, yes, there is an episode in the first season of Titans that has the Doom Patrol, but I think for the most part you're supposed to consider them two separate versions, even though
Oh.
like I think maybe at one point I know the Titans has gone through it has been a cluster, and from what I've heard about the show, it's like yeah, I'm not eager to check it out anytime soon. Doom Patrol, however, is delightful. I have watched most of that, and that show is pretty good. But go so it's like but that was kind of my only thing. If I understood correctly. So it's like, so the multiverse. So the main shows are combined to one Earth. I got that. But then the multiverse is or isn't there. That's where I'm kind of confused. So they kind of made it seem in the end like, yeah, the multiverse is still around. So these other things, they're still out there in the multiverse. You know, they still are out there. But then there was a preview for the next Flash episode where I think they have Cisco say something like, the multiverse is gone. You know, physics are different. And it's like, well, how can that be? They just showed us a bunch of Earths at the end, you know, kind of that have been reborn, more or less. So,
Yeah.
am I reading too deep into this, or am I just
It, it,
missing
it,
something
I'm wondering if that's something that's going to be
addressed?
uh addressed later on because it did establish the multiverse is back in maybe a slightly different form
Mm-hmm.
and that but yeah, like Supergirl mentioned the multiverse is no longer, and Cisco from the preview mentioned the multiverse is no longer. But I wonder if they will like learn that the multiverse is still around. Which makes me wonder about Jay Garrick on the Flash. Like, is it going to be revealed that he was the Flash way back when, or is he still on another parallel Earth?
Yeah, because
That's
because that was what I remember. That was the other kind of big thing that you sort of told me about, or was that oh they kind of all the Golden Age heroes. Well these are heroes back in the day, and then Superman and Batman. Are you still there?
yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, because I remember that was one of the big things. It's like, oh yeah, they were, these older heroes. Yeah, they were an older generation, but these are the new generation, kind of thing.
Right.
So that would be pretty cool if they did that. Although the other thing I will say, just because of how the show has been set up, because I remember correctly from the Flash this season, because they cut to Jay Garrick on his Earth, who again in the show, Jay Garrick looks exactly like Barry's dead dad, but wasn't he also married to somebody who looks exactly like his dead mom too?
Yeah, yeah. Well, they weren't married, but it looked like they were dating or something like that. The actress who played the Barry's mom played Joan Allen, who in the comics is Jay Garrick's wife.
Right. So it's kind of so I guess it's kind of one of those things where you go, where if they're combining all these Earths, is Barry's parents? Hey, we're alive now, and conveniently also an older version of the Flash, which would be kind of a fun. I don't know. I think that'd be kind of a fun sort of thing, considering that Barry's entire superhero journey has been about like avenging the death of his parents, more or less. So I don't know. I think it'd be weird, but I think it would be interesting just to see what they would do. And going kind of off of that note, oh god, I just had some the other characters that they haven't addressed if they are existing anymore or if they're just gone forever. Uh, Earth 2, Harrison Wells and Jesse Quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the Flash episode they finally brought up the fact that oh yeah, Earth 2 is gone along with those characters, and that's kind of all we've heard. There hasn't been anything else saying that they aren't around. So maybe, or I guess I guess it's one of those things like where you kind of have to start going like, okay, are these characters going to be back or are they just gone forever? Which I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they may just say, oh yeah, we've always been around on this
I don't
Earth, or
I don't know because you can get away with it with Jay Garrick, but Harrison or Harry Wells is a little problematic because the real Harrison Wells was killed by the Reverse Flash, and he's the
right?
doppelganger. So I don't know. I'm sure the next couple
Well,
episodes are gonna we're gonna get shake all this out and deal with the details that they just couldn't
yeah,
fit in the actual episode. So
yeah. It's one of those. Again, I guess going back to my favorite phrase I've been using. Don't think about it too hard.
yeah,
But I don't know. I mean, we've been talking about kind of the impact of the actual the implication of what this all means and like how these shows are going to go going forward. But I mean, part five. Is there anything you want to bring from part five? Because for me, we kind of took a little bit of detour, but I think an important detour. But part five for me, I mean, I think generally overall was just like a sort of like a tacked on epilogue. Like it did a couple things, kind of addressing what the status quo was. But in terms of like the final fight, the quote unquote final fight of the Anti-Monitor, it was pretty. I don't know. It was kind of sort of lackluster. I will say it very much was a legend solution to a problem. So where it's just like, what's the silliest thing that we can do to get out of the situation?
hmm
You know, let's just shrink them down for all infinity. It's like perfect.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, well, to be fair, it's not much better than what happened in the actual comic. Superman just punched him really, really hard.
which I'll be honest, they were kind of sort of getting ready to do that with Supergirl, right? Like she was getting ready to they had a shot, a bad CGI shot of her with the cape, make it seem like she was going to go full steam ahead.
But
But then they just kind of didn't.
he had that like shield up or something, right?
What?
Didn't like Supergirl have like that shield? Didn't the Antimatter have that shield up and she was like trying to punch through it and couldn't get through it?
I think that was in the beginning of the fight, but I was talking about like near the end. There's like a shot where
Oh,
it's like where it's like a wide shot of like her like getting ready to like build up steam to like. So I think that may have been. I guess that could have been like a reference to that, where it's just like Superman punched him really really hard. But yeah, But again, going back to the big problem with all these crossovers, the final fight, and I get it. It's a superhero show, but it's
hmm
like if you pick just and I. Okay, I'm not saying a fight has to take place on like a worldwide scale. I get that. But why is it we always have to pick like a weird nondescript location that means nothing to these characters? Why not Star Labs? Why not the freaking White House? Why not anywhere? Okay, so they established like, okay, we're using the, we teased it before. It's like, but now this is going to be the new Hall of Justice, right? Why not on the front lawn of that space? You know, like why
Yeah,
does it
I
have
don't know.
why does it have to be this kind of very nondescript shipyard that none of these characters have any sort of emotional attachment to? And I forgot to bring this up in part four, but I'll bring it up now. And I don't know. And again, you watch Supergirl more than me. Why is Martian Manhunter? And I get it. Martian Manhunter is mostly in effect, and they have the guy just kind of in his clothes. I get that. Why is it when it's like, okay, it's time for the big superhero fight? Why is he just like in his flannel? The big fight, at the beginning of time, he's just in like jeans and like a button up. But then for this final fight, he's actually in the costume. Like, was the
Because
guy
he
just that
was
day?
because he was actually in the costume because he needed to be in the final fight to make it look cool.
I guess.
But I don't know. Maybe Martian Manhunter doesn't make much sense to me at times because he can shapeshift and then he can shapeshift into his costume. Other times he can't. Like maybe you can argue that he was in his he didn't have his costume with him. I don't know. That he was
But
just stuck in his flannel. I don't know. I stopped asking those questions a long time ago.
I don't know. It was just it. But yeah, it was plus again going back to the dream team to stop the anti-monitor. We have a couple super powered guys, and then half of our team is made up of dudes with guns and people who know karate. It's like, why is this the dream team? Why is this the team that's going to save the world? Which I will say, I don't know about you, but I laughed really hard as there was a presidential address, kind of explaining what had just happened over the
Yeah,
past. I'll be honest. I started dying laughing. I was like, oh my god.
It's like, okay, everyone, let's recap about what happened because clearly you're not understanding this. See, there was this monitor guy, and he wanted to destroy us all, and then Oliver Queen saved us
Yeah,
somehow.
yeah. Which that was the one weird thing. I'm assuming because I get it. Oliver Queen died because of his epic Care Bear stare. I got that.
Hmm.
But then like everybody in the New Earth is like, Oliver Queen is dead. Well, where did you think he was before? I'm assuming they're working with the end of like the last season of Arrow, where it's like, okay, Oliver sort of went away, but we don't know where he is, and now we're finding out, oh, he's actually dead. I'm assuming that's what the logic is that they're working with.
Yeah, maybe. Again, that's a confusing point because Oliver died in the old universe, so when things got rebooted, he should have been technically alive. But if things got rebooted, Oliver would not have had to go on his journey. He could
Right.
have like yeah, it makes no sense. It
Yeah.
makes no sense. I mean, maybe they'll explain it in the last couple episodes of Arrow. I guess a lot of characters are going to be coming back for that, so they'll be able to
Mhm.
shake out all the details. But or maybe that was one of the catches. Like if Oliver died to restart in the universe, he had to die
The new one.
when the
Which
with the like he had to die when he would have died in the old universe than the new universe. I don't know. I'm confusing myself just talking about this.
and I'll be honest, like having, I guess having him not be there makes sense. I'm not. That's what I'm not upset with. It's just, or that's I'm more just confused. Like all these characters are like Oliver's dead. It's like, well, where did you think he was? You know, I guess before the Martian Manhunter, did his special touch. Just
Hmm.
like, which I guess I could have brought this up before when Spectre Oliver shows up and just kind of. Did you ever watch Dragon Ball Z?
No, I'm not a nerd.
Oh, I was gonna bring it. I was gonna reference when during the Namek saga when like the Namekian guru like unlocks everybody's potential and it doesn't. He just kind of puts his hand on them and be like, okay, you're powered up. It was kind of the same thought that I had where it was just like Oliver was like, all right, you've unlocked your potential now, Barry. It's like that was it.
Yeah.
No like lightning eyes. No like oh, just yep, you're
I,
good.
I actually like that because sometimes I get so tired of you unlock your potential and it's like this huge special effects.
Yeah.
Here's like boink, you're good.
Well, I'll be honest. And I guess I shouldn't expect too much subversion from a CW show, but I will say I was kind of expecting, Oliver to go like, be like, oh, I didn't do anything. You just had to believe, or something
Oh
like
God,
that.
I'm
It's
glad
more.
they didn't do that.
I'm surprised they. I'm surprised. I'm more surprised that they didn't do that. But
The power
um,
was within you the whole time.
yeah, Scarecrow, you had Kurt
Scare, go
or
ahead, brains.
Scarecrow and Brain, sorry. They had it all within them the whole time. The wizard gave it to them. But yeah, because
I gotta
mainly.
say, oh,
No,
I
you go
was just
ahead.
about to say, let's. I think we should gotta start wrapping this up here, but
Yeah.
I gotta say, I enjoyed the first half of this very much, and I was excited going in the second half, but I was just kind of disappointed with hours 4 and 5. I thought they just did not live up to the. Like, I don't know. I said earlier that they shit the bed. That might be overstating it. It didn't stick to landing. I felt it was just a little too much was going on. Too much went on that didn't ultimately matter. Like the whole going back in time and seeing
hmm
stopping the monitor.
It was
Or
well, it was ultimately pointless because it's like,
yeah,
well, he's still there.
yeah, or the whole Bebo scene, which was funny and cute, but it's kind of like couldn't we? Why did we need to have this scene in here? I didn't care for it. I mean, it was fine, but it was kind of like why?
It was.
Um,
I mean, to be fair, it kind of. I guess it sort of showed off what the status quo is like. Oh yeah, this is a Justice League problem, and if we get like that random, evil magician just popping up. It's like, you know what? That's great. But
I love
um,
how the now that we have like a Justice League with we forgot to mention apparently the Wonder Twins may or may not be around with Gleek.
yeah, that's what I text you that. I was like, what's Gleek?
Oh, yeah, yeah, thanks for that, by the way. I hadn't watched it. You're like, what's Gleek? I'm like, well, I guess there's another cameo in the thing that I'm spoiled on. Gleek is from the Super Friends. There were from the Super Friends cartoon series back in the 70s and 80s. There was the Wonder Twins had a pet named Gleek who was kind of like this purple monkey thing who was
Okay.
always doing stuff. Google Gleek. I'm sure you've seen it without realizing who he was. But
Okay.
be curious to see if they bring that in because they use some of the music from Super Friends during that as well, which is amusing to see. Um,
Well,
like
I will say this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say with the Justice League, I love how like their new high-end headquarters is in this abandoned warehouse
Yeah.
with like one table in it, which granted they probably couldn't put anything bigger together, but it's kind of like, couldn't you guys just, I don't know, meet in your apartment? Do you really need to have this abandoned area that you'll never be at except once a year maybe?
Yeah. They come back to it. It's like, what happened? Well, you left a flame unattended. You left
Yeah.
a funeral pyre unattended. It just kind of the whole place went up like a tinderbox. I will say. What was I gonna say? I mean, I do like that they finally, more or less, after basically teasing us for years, finally just said, "Yep, we're the Justice League. It's here. It's right now." I like that they have the little table and all that stuff. Although I will say, for this being kind of like Oliver's eulogy, more or less, I don't want to say it's weird having Black Lightning and Batwoman there. I get it; they're the new players in this whole cacophony of shows,
hmm
but it is just kind of like it's more like, yeah, we didn't really know the guy that well, but we're here for moral support, I guess.
I don't think Black Lightning ever actually met Oliver.
No, no, he was dead. Yeah, because he was dead. He was on the ship, so he knew everybody else. So I guess he just there is like, yeah, I just got an invite to this. But yeah, I will say that's the other. If I had one, my criticism of like the whole thing, and kind of going back to, I think I may have mentioned it before, of just like, I think we're getting to the point where these crossovers may be getting a touch too big, and just because it's like, okay, you know, the main kind of older characters that have been around a while, they all kind of got their moment. Batwoman and Black Lightning, they were there, they made an appearance, but they really didn't have like necessarily like a moment, if you know what I mean, like impacting like the larger story. They're like, well, we're here, you know. I mean, Batwoman got her own sort of side thing during the respective Batwoman part, but otherwise that was about it. Um,
hmm
the one other thing I do want to mention, during kind of like the last moments where they had the Gleek Easter egg, I honestly thought I thought they were going to be teasing the Joker for some reason. Just the way the laugh sounded,
Oh,
uh, like without any context. If you watch that, before they cut to the monkey cage, I was like, is the Joker attacking like right now? Like, wow.
he's on it.
That's Yeah. I guess he's like, you know, but still, that was my only
Joaquin
thing.
Phoenix wanders in. Where
Yeah.
am I?
They're like, oh my god, we were able to afford him. No, but yeah, I mean, I've been kind of mulling over this like the past week or so, like what my thoughts were, and I kind of boiled down this entire crisis to like three words: ambitious, fan service heavy, but ultimately very clunky. I think it's kind of like sort of how far can you stretch something before it starts to tear, and I think this may be it because I think the biggest limitation for these crossovers is kind of just like narrative cohesion, because I get the way that they have them set up. It's like, okay, well, this episode features the primary cast of this respective show, and everybody else on it is just a guest star. So you have to kind of treat it different. You have to kind of treat it differently. But if you're trying to make a crossover that's more like a movie, you can't necessarily do that where like each section has like focus on different characters like that. You know what I mean?
hmm
But I don't know, and that's why I still will say that the best crossover still is the Earth X one, because I felt like that was the one that was most cohesive from like start to finish, in terms of like this type of story that they're trying to go through. And then this one still had fun moments. I'm not dead inside, so it's like, the fun things. Yeah, I enjoyed them, but I will wholeheartedly agree with you, and I think a lot of people probably agree with us. Just the ending of it, I think it built itself so much and just so much teasing and so much like, oh man, once you really know the antimatter, oh, it's gonna be so epic. It's good. they kept building and building and building and building, and just by the time these last two episodes really had to deliver on like this grand promise, and it delivered the main thing, which was combine the Earths. Got it. That's its
Mm-hmm.
big thing. But then in terms of like kind of just like keeping that momentum up, I think they really fell flat just because it was like, okay, they really just fell flat because it's like there really wasn't that continual building. It was just kind of like we stopped and now we're kind of slowly jogging back up to speed. But yeah, I think if they're going to do another crossover, I think they need to just limit how many shows are involved. I think they need to keep it just maybe do a couple of mini crossovers, just like, oh, what if the characters from Arrow met the characters from Black Lightning and they have a little adventure? I think things like that where it's like one or two or like two of the shows can meet up at just different points instead of doing these massive ones. Just because I don't think you can get any bigger, and I'm not sure what kind of story you would do next. Because now you can start really going into Justice League, adapting Justice League stories proper, I suppose. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what next year brings.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess a lot of things can happen between now and then, but maybe they will do smaller crossovers. I'm sure they'll have one bigger one, maybe with Flash, Supergirl, and Batwoman, kind of like how last year's was a little bit more smaller.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess time will tell. But we're going way too long. We gotta wrap this up here. So my thoughts were I was kind of let down by the resolution. I do when I have some free time. I want to rewatch all 5 parts and see if I have a new appreciation for them. But yeah, that's my closing thoughts. Do you have any other quick closing thoughts?
I would say probably just sort of I did enjoy this for what it was, but I think in terms of like if you have to rank all the different crossovers, I think this would kind of be near the bottom just because it tried shooting for the moon and just I don't know, just got way too. I think it got too ambitious.
It shot for the moon, but still rests among the
Yep.
stars.
Icarus flew too close to the sun. I couldn't remember what the metaphor was, but that's I think it's a good way. I think some of the other crossovers have done these larger stories better. I think even Elseworlds was more cohesive than what this one was. But yeah, interested. I mean, I'm interested to see where they kind of go, how the heck all these shows will actually work, going forward. But yeah, I guess we'll have to tune in to see what happens next.
We'll find out. Yeah, maybe we could do next summer. We could revisit and see where things are at. Do a crisis follow up or something like that. But
Yeah.
all right. Let's end this here. So this has been our extensive crisis coverage, the CC. But I guess that'll do it. So I'm Nick.
I'm Cousin Charles.
And this has been the All New Culture Cast. Thanks for listening, and we will be back next week with a new episode. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the All New Culture Cast. We try to post new episodes every Monday evenings 3 to 4 times a month. Check out our backlog. We can be found at allnewculturecast.libsyn.com. You can also find us on Apple iTunes and wherever else podcasts can be downloaded and listened to. This has been the All New Culture Cast, a Saltwater production. Original material copyright 2020. Thanks for listening. I'm not hearing any echo on my end. Do you hear echo on your end?
No, not at all. You're coming in crystal clear.
It's because I'm drinking my Crystal Pepsi.